Hello guys, here with Paul from Firefly, and we're at the Stronghold Crusader 2 stand here at Rezzed. And can you tell us a little bit about Stronghold Crusader 2, what it's kind of bringing to the series? I know playing it yesterday, there's a lot of features that veterans are going to enjoy, but there's also a few new features in there. So kind of like a brief overview, I guess,
of
sure. What Crusader 2 brings.
Absolutely. Well, obviously the original Stronghold game is quite old now. Actually, the original Stronghold came out in 2001, and then Stronghold Crusader was the sequel that came out in 2002. So we've decided now, 12 years later, it's about time we sort of made the sequel. So Crusader basically is the fans' favourite, Stronghold game. It's the one which has got the real longevity because it's all about skirmish play. So it's all about 8-player multiplayer, and that can be 8 humans, it can be human and AI opponents, and it's all about teams, 2 versus 2 versus 2, 4 versus 4, 1 versus 7, as the veterans like to do. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring that all of those elements of the original into Stronghold Crusader 2, and then try and expand, add elements without breaking the core gameplay. So I think the classic examples of that would be, we've got a lot of, we've introduced a few sort of buff units, so things like we've got a sergeant at arms, who, if he's around swordsman, he gives them a little bit of extra armour. So if you've got a healer unit, so it doesn't, it's not like a case of he just heals people immediately or anything, but if he's in the battlefield, he'll have a range, an area effect, and he'll heal people. We've got other ones like the slaves in Crusader 1 were a classic. These are the guys, they got their fire torches. Fire was always very important in Crusader. You went around, you went up to the farms, you set them on fire, hoping that would spread and set the whole castle alight. So we've got these slave drivers who motivate the slaves into being more efficient. And we've got some other units with some special abilities. If you remember, in the original Crusader, there was assassins were always one of the favourite units because they could scale walls, so they were a bit different from everyone else. So we've got some cool new ones. We've got the Whirling Dervish, he's kind of got this guy. He's got 2 swords. What he's got is his special sprint attack, so he can sprint into battle, and he does a whirling sort of area attack.
Oh, nice.
Which is great because what a weaker player might get a group of archers, send them over to the enemy castle, just harass some farmers. It's kind of a really dirty little tactic. So with a Whirling Dervish, he's good. He's quite lightly armoured, but if you get him into a group, say a group of archers, he'll do a lot of damage. So for the players that don't protect, don't set up their armies correctly, then they'll be vulnerable to some of these new special units. And one of the classics in the original Crusader was the horse archer, right? People used to get the horse archer. This is an archer on a horse, right? So he was the fastest unit in the game. So what they would do is they'd get the horse archer, they'd go over to the enemy castle, they would ride around, right? They would ride around just shooting people. The swordsman, the enemy swordsman would go after him, never catch up, and it was a classic kind of tactic. So what we've got now, we've got Assassinate Knight, and what he's got is again he's obviously on a horse, but he's got a small sort of sprint.
Oh yeah, I've seen that using them.
So it's really effective. So obviously it's all balanced so that they're not cheap. Obviously they're expensive, but they're a really good countermeasure to some of the classic strategies or exploits that were used in the original. And really that's where we're trying to go. We're trying to make sure all of the gameplay from Crusader is in Crusader 2, but at the same time add elements which we feel kind of make the game better.
Even the veterans are going to be surprised and have to develop new strategies. Hopefully they won't be able to just jump straight in at the same level.
Absolutely, and there's so much content in Crusader, because in terms of units, there's there's over 20 individual units. There's another 8 siege that you can build. So for new players, there's a hell of a lot there already. But for the veterans, obviously they'll be used to a lot of the things. So we just wanted to add things so that when they jump in, they'll have some new stuff to use at the same time.
Oh, sounds great. So obviously you've got a multiplayer demo on show here.
Absolutely.
What are the kind of the other modes that we can look forward to seeing in Crusader 2?
So one of the great things about Crusader was it had a lot of replayability because we did try and introduce a lot of modes into that. So we've got a single player campaign where people can learn the ropes, which includes a learning campaign. So although you'll have a tutorial, but obviously it's much better to have a tutorial where the gameplay teaches you.
Yeah.
So we'll have a learning campaign where we'll, restrict some of the access to the troops so you can learn them, and then hopefully by the end of that you'll be set up to take on the game properly. So we'll have more campaigns because people, so that people can play a nice structured campaign.
Yep.
Then we've got the classic, the skirmish trails back, which is essentially so skirmish missions. So other computer controlled castles on the same map as you.
Yep.
And then, but we'll set up those. So we will set the challenge, for the players to beat those. And then the mode which everybody plays to death in the original is basically the custom skirmish. That's where you can choose the map, you can choose however many opponents you want, you can choose up to 8 player multiplayer. That can be 8 players, 8 human players, that can be 4 human players, 4 AI opponents. We've got at launch we'll have 8 AI opponents. They've all got their own personality.
Wow.
They all come in, they all taunt you, they request goods if you're allied with them.
That's cool.
They got their own, a lot of routines going on, AI routines where, they'll analyse their castle and they'll respond accordingly. Some will be like weak and turtle, others will be much more aggressive, come out immediately and harass like your stone quarries and your wood camps and your farms. Some will be a bit fire obsessed, pyromaniac style. But, it's really, what we're trying to get is that variety that really means that people can just set up games however they want and just keep playing them over and over and over.
So I assume with having up to 8 players, some of the maps are going to be quite large. So
it is one of the challenges, because one thing that obviously large maps is one of the things that we get a lot of feedback back from the fans, and basically it really depends how many players there are, because last thing we want is for players to have to trek. Swordsmen are quite slow. Do you really want to be sitting there for 10 minutes just to get to the other side of the castle? So, depending on how many players, obviously, will determine the size of the map.
Scale.
But the other thing is that we do ship with a map editor, so it's important to us. The original Crusader's got thousands of maps made for it, and and especially with Steam and everything, means that it's really easy now for people to access new maps.
I remember people making Lord of the Rings style Helm's Deep maps.
Amazing.
And they were fantastic.
Amazing. There's almost like an artwork. There's some I see maps that top down they're like skulls and things like that.
Yeah, it's so brilliant to see what the community pushes out.
That's really important to us to give them the tools. We're giving them the same tools that we use to make our maps.
Fantastic. So kind of finally, you're self-publishing for this title, because previously it was Take-Two Games.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
So how has that impacted on you guys as a studio and your own kind of development process, I guess?
Well, it's a big change to us. As I say, we used to have Take-Two, a great partner for us in the past. And being a big company, they had their own PR and marketing teams. They obviously had relationships with back in the day. Obviously it was all just magazines, and there was that select group, and they knew those well, and they would organise all that for us. All we had to do was just turn up on the day and and demo it to a few people, and then. But now, we are publishing the game on Steam, this summer, and so, we are have to, try and get the game out to people. A lot of people haven't played the original games back in the day, but I'm not sure if they even realise that Crusader 2's out. So that's the challenge for us.
Getting out there.
So remind people that have played it 10 years ago that there's a new game coming. You should check it out. We're still here, and
definitely no.
And so we've got a PR and marketing team now, and we're coming to a lot more events. We never used to demo in public just because we didn't think it was possible. Because the nature of the game was quite games can take hours. So we've tried it out. We've had an amazing response here at the show.
It's brilliant.
And so people are clearly that there's behind us you see kids playing it, right? So obviously they never played the original, and they're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, one of the first things I think I said yesterday when I first clicked in, I heard the classic "Morning, your lordship," and I was just that's just brilliant. Just all of it seems like you've got all the classic Stronghold elements in there, but also already just looking at it, so many new elements and kind of built up things from Crusader and the other Stronghold series.
Absolutely, and it's really important. It's interesting you say, because obviously the personality of the game. We're a British developer, And we want that kind of British humour in the game. So as you say,
It's brilliant,
the peasants are funny because peasants are funny, right? Medieval's very funny. Launching cows is incredibly funny. So
almost Monty Python.
No, it's true, and I think that's what it's very British, and we want to be a
part
British
of it
game
as well. It is. Well, there are kind of serious elements to it. It is quite funny listening to the peasants and their stories, and remember like clicking on them, say their gripes and their pains of being a boring old peasant or something like that.
Absolutely, and I'm sure living in medieval times wasn't much fun, but looking back at it now, it's a very funny time.
It's great fun.
Very stupid things happen.
So finally, I guess I don't know if you can talk about it, but are there any plans for kind of like DLC or kind of expansions down the line for Crusader 2?
Well, definitely, because it's a title which we know, like people will be able to play over a long period of time, and we'll have lots of replayability. So we definitely we'll have 8 AI available at launch, and then as soon as the game ships, we'll be working on 8 more.
Oh, brilliant.
We'll be bringing back some of the classic characters from the original Stronghold games.
Perhaps?
Possibly. So, absolutely, Wolf, the kind of rat pig, the characters, because they got really big personalities, so they work really well for the AI. But also, some more the Arabic guys. There's got a guy called Saladin, the Kalis back. So they all they all have, as I said, their own personalities. Also, we'll release some more campaigns, and obviously there'll be maps made. Fan maps, and we will release multiplayer maps, and we just want to make sure that we put out a game with a really good core set of maps. So not just like make hundreds, but they're only of the kind of average quality. We want to really make sure we concentrate on making some really good ones at launch, and then we can build that for the people that keep playing it. Really good quality extra content after release.
Fantastic. Well, guys, that's Crusader 2 Stronghold, and it should be out in the summer, available on Steam, lots of mod support, and from what I've played, I spent an hour locked in bloody combat with another player, and actually we've agreed to have a rematch, so stay tuned on my channel for that rematch when the game's released. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do not take what you cannot hold.